As we were told by Joint Task Force Guantanamo's commander, everything done at Camp Delta is based on an extensive series of standard operating procedures, SOPs that lay out how every task is handled.
Everything from how a detainee is moved, how he's secured, how he's fed, how he receives his mail, how he has interviews with the International Committee of the Red Cross, how he is moved to interrogations, how interrogations are conducted, what other intelligence gathering sources. SOPs for literally every aspect of the detainee's life.
The extreme care taken is for everyone's protection, the guards and the detainees.
Everything is logged, and it's important for us to know everything that goes on within their respective block, because that is what keeps us informed on the day-to-day activities.
The overriding theme of Camp Delta is detail, and the level of detail is not more apparent than in the dining facility. The Seaside Galley in Camp America is food central. Meals for the troops and meals for the detainees are all prepared here in a constant 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week flurry of activity. The religious needs and sensitivities of the detainees drive this train, and special accommodations are made throughout the process. For starters, to conform with Islamic tradition, all of the bread is made fresh on site. It's a very unusual concept for military dining facilities where frozen bread is usually shipped in. It's a similar scene with the fruit that arrives. It's all hand-sorted to eliminate spots or blemishes that irritate the detainees. It's a process that also directly benefits the American troops that eat here. The details are even more complicated when it comes to serving the meals. All special religious and dietary needs are compiled, and a list is generated and given to the galley. Although the left column showing specific detainee numbers is classified, we can show you some of the individual meal requirements. Most are simply double portions, but some get very specific. Divided containers are used to keep the foods from touching one another. Each is numbered and labeled before being filled. The meals are then individually delivered to the corresponding cells. All special dietary requirements are generated by the Joint Medical Operations Group located adjacent to Camp 4. It's a fully loaded facility with a dual role: take care of the U.S. military people and take care of the detainees. The medical group's commander says, believe it or not, there's not that much of a difference between the contrasting missions.
Particularly the type of care that we give really is the same. That's kind of been our philosophy from the start here, is we provide the same level of care for the detainees that we provide for the troops that are working here. The real difference is, of course, we have to take it to the detainees. They don't come to us nearly as much.
The medical facility has 2 full-size wards, a physical therapy area, a full dental area, and even fully equipped radiology and operating rooms. Because many detainees arrived with pre-existing health issues, Camp Delta has to be ready to perform any procedure that comes up. As far as the type of typical care provided, Captain Edmondson says it's mostly a routine outpatient variety.
Actually, probably the most common thing would be, just like a everyday cold. We also get a fair number of sports injuries, twisted ankles for playing soccer.
The medical staff is not just concerned with the dietary and physical needs of the detainees. They're also interested in psychological needs that are inherent to detention. To that end, a $2.6 million psychiatric ward is now under construction. When completed, it will contain a treatment room, 12 standard inpatient rooms, and 4 specialized rooms. Captain Edmondson says when dealing with patients behind bars, his staff deals with the same levels of compliance the guards do.
It does, present some professional challenges because we have a fairly good rapport with most of the detainees. They take what we have to offer fairly well, but there is a group that remains hostile, and it just requires professionalism. These guys have come here and understood that we have to provide medical care regardless of what their attitude toward us is, and the folks have maintained their professionalism and do a great job doing that.
Professionalism. It's a word you'll hear again and again when visiting Camp Delta. You'll also hear its companion, discipline.
Some of the enemy combatants we hold have become largely compliant with our security instructions, and so they do what we ask them to. And they have a little bit better standard of living with regards to communal activity, library books, things like that. On the other hand, there are a smaller number of detainees who are still actively violent, defiant, non-compliant with the security requirements. And those men, whenever they have the chance, will lash out at the guard force. It just makes it that much more essential that the security force that operates into the wire be absolutely disciplined.
Discipline is the one thing that drives this train, and I just equate that to being vigilant.
I say this is the most challenging duty I've had, just because you constantly have to keep yourself in check. You constantly have to remember what rules you're working with and stay in those guidelines.
These soldiers and sailors carry out their mission under some of the harshest circumstances sometimes, when they themselves are being treated badly by the detainees. They do so in the most professional manner, and I truly am proud of them.
These detainees mistreat in many ways, with the throwing of feces, with throwing of urine. That's been well documented towards our guards here, and they've got to handle that and respond to that in a professional way.
At times they do take it personal. They don't show that, though, towards the detainees, or they'll convey that to the detainees. It's after the action, after shift, is when they talk about things that occurred during their blocks. And at times some of them do take it personal.
I have seen where they just chose a certain guard for no particular reason, and went at them all day, and then eventually assaulted them.
Anything that they can get away with is a victory for them. We got a lot of throat gestures, a lot of verbal threats from the detainees. But again, it's the norm. It's what's expected. It's every day, and the troops understand that it's a way of life while serving inside the wire.